I'm going to start off by showing you an overview of like the book so you understand what I want it to start pulling, and then we'll jump into the actual table of contents. And just like we made these paragraph styles, you can generate a table of contents, and then when you're ready to update it, you can delete it and make a brand new one and re-drag and drop all the stuff into it. Or you can make a style for the table of contents, and once you've generated a table of contents, you apply the style to it, and then it just becomes the right table of contents. So it sounds confusing, but it's no different than here where we have a text box and you can apply different styles to it and make it look different. Once you've generated a table of contents, you can apply different styles like that to it. So what I want to pull into my table of contents would be the chapter title, project 4 in this case, and then I would also want it to reference this, which is like the subheading. So here, this should have chapter subheading, and then here's body text. Body text I don't really need for the table of contents, because table of contents should just tell you what's the chapter, what are the subheadings, and then that way you can find it. And then the other big thing that you need is the page number. You really want to know what your page number is. So if you notice on here, like I didn't have page number, that's because this one is set to not have one on the master. But let me go to here. I can grab these and I can say Control C and go to B master, paste in place, and there you go. Now we have them on all of them. So I would want it to reference the page number so that I know where these are. And then the other thing we want to do is control how it actually looks. So you'll see once we get into it, you'll be referencing where is this style used. So the first step is make sure you have, like, be very specific to where you use your different paragraph styles, because if you are randomly using this one, which is supposed to be this chapter subheading or the main title, as like to highlight other objects, and you just shrink it or something like that, that will mess up your table of contents. So if you want another like size text, or you want a bold one, or you want to create a black background layout, then you'll need to create a new style that has like white text. That way it doesn't just mess up the one that you already had. So once we've set up, basically you can create something like this and copy that on all your layouts and it'll be fine. And then we go to the top, and then this is where I want to create the table of contents. Usually you can add, so let's say I want to add a couple pages. Let's just create it first, and then we'll add them. That way I can show you how, once you've set up the table of contents, anything you move, all you have to do is update it, and then it will carry through all of them. So our main ones that we are going to be looking at is the main chapter title and then also the subheading. So those are the two big ones. I'm going to start off by going to layout, and then if you look all the way down, you have table of contents. So I'm going to click that, and then this lets you create like a basic table of contents. You're going to choose, so it's going to reference paragraph styles. So if you remember, we have these ones set up here. If you go here, it's going to generate the table of contents, but just like we were talking about earlier, you have paragraph styles that you can apply to a text box. If you look, you have table of contents styles that allow you to apply them. Imagine this is the same window as this, where you have paragraph styles. This is table of contents styles. So here we can save a bunch of them. So when you start writing like your thesis, stuff like that, you'll have table of contents, you'll have the table of figures, there's like the table of like charts and diagrams, or whatever. There's like 3 or 4 different versions of the table of contents that you need to add. So here you can make one for each, and then you just basically click a text box and just apply that on there. So let's make a new one. And this menu is the same as the one we were in before. That's no different than when we're adjusting text here for a text box or using it in the paragraph style. So what you put up here is what you want the style to be called. So we can call this one style 1 for now. Next thing I want you to look at is let's just generate something, and then I'll walk you through all of the different options, because that will make more sense than just me explaining it and then it's just made on its own. We wanted to add the chapter titles, and then we said the chapter subheadings. So those are the two I want to add. Now I'm just going to hit OK. I'm not going to do anything else. And so now it's created that, and we can say OK. So here we don't have anything. If you hit W, you can see our like guides. I'm going to create a table of contents. I'm going to use table of contents style 1, and then just hit OK. So see, now I get this. If you have a text box, it will fill in the text box. If you don't, you can just click and it will grab like your margins and fill it into there. So now look what it's done. It's gone here and it's just wrote the word contents project 2 with a 3. So it looks like project 23, project 039, project 413. So what is it doing? It's basically referencing that style anywhere it was used, and then it's displaying the page number after it. But realize this is kind of confusing, right? Because it made sense for these to be that big when it was on the page, like that. But when it's in the table of contents, that's like ginormous. Like, we don't need it to be like that. So let's start looking at how do we control this and get more flexibility with that. So we can go back, rather than changing the actual table of contents, I'm going to change the style, because this lets me change it live and I can just watch that change. So I'm going to go here, rather than make a new one, I'm just going to edit this one. And then now what I can do is here where I had chapter titles, notice it says chapter title entry same style. That means it's going to look up this style anywhere it is, and then the entry in the table of contents, what it's actually going to write, will be in the same style as the character style, the paragraph style that it's referencing. That's why you're seeing it look exactly the same. If you don't want that, you can click here, and let's just say I don't want that to look like that. Let's make it look like body text. Now here I can do this and say let's make that one also look like body text. Now I can hit OK. OK. You click your paragraph style, you go back to layout, and then you can update it. So see, it's gone in there and updated it. Now it doesn't look humongous, but it's still not that much easier to read. So some people, that's all they do and they just leave it like that. But if you want to become like a master of your table of contents, we can go in and fully customize this. So if you by like some miracle had another style that looked okay on there, you would be in like the most lucky person ever. Most of the time it looks like this, where it's way too small compared to this, or maybe this is too big. So what style is that referencing? We told it to use, right, so if you go here, you go to edit, we told it to use body text for these, right? And so we can come back, and you technically could go here, right? Oops, that'll happen to you every time you use your table of contents. You'll have it selected and you'll try and edit a character or paragraph style, and then it will apply it to the table of contents and the formatting goes away. We could do this, right? Where for some reason I don't think it lets you resize this window. I could go basic, and then if you watch on the left, it should, see, it's changing, right? So we're good. We can hit OK, but now look what's happened. Is this the only place we're using that style? No, right? It's in our whole document. So when we go here, like, we'll have all this humongous text everywhere, and we got lucky that there's not a lot of stuff written in there. But usually that will start to mess up everything else. So if you don't want to do that, we can undo. And then rather than making this one, we can make a new one and then go in there, and let's say based on, let's just say it none. What I want to call this one is table of contents, and we can call this one, let's say we want our chapter titles to be in this font, so we can call it chapter titles. And then we can go to edit, and we can just use the same as it's set to right now and just make it bold. And then let's make a new one. Oops. And call this one, I put TOC for table of contents, that way I know which one it is that I'm actually working on. And then here I can go here and say not bold, regular. So if I then go back to the style that I'm using to create the table of contents, I can edit it and then change this from displaying body text. I can put table of contents chapter titles, and on that one I can put table of contents subheadings and hit OK. Okay. Pick that, layout, update table of contents. Now if we zoom in, we can see that they look different, right? But what's nice now is this is a unique paragraph style to the table of contents, so we can play with it all we want and you're not going to mess up the rest of your book. So I can go in here and let's say I want, let's say we want to create some spacing in between so it doesn't look so close. All the chapters are like overlapping. Like how could we make it look like there's more space? So there's two ways you could do it. One would be we could add space above each project, like the chapter title, or we could add space after each sub one. If you had like this, there's only one subcategory in each one, that would be fine. But if you had multiple subcategories, now it's going to start separating all of them individually. So it's, in this case, it's probably better to add space before the main title. So let's go to the chapter titles and the table of contents. I just did it again. Undo. Just unselect it. If you go to Indents and Spacing, or is it this one? Yeah, space before, space after. Since this is the style and it's applied to that, it's just referencing it. So this will stay live. So if you watch, if I add space before, it will start to space it out. And notice it doesn't put space after because I didn't put any. So we can just watch there until you're happy with the way it looks. And you say, okay, yeah, that looks good. And then now we can say, okay, thanks. Do you guys notice anything else that's kind of weird about this? Yeah, you have two page numbers that are the same thing. So if you had project 2 and then you had the 3, and then this started on a different page, it would be fine. But since these are overlapping, we could tell it, I only want you to give me that page number. I don't want this style to give me a page number, because this one will always be directly under it and it will return that value. Or we could tell it, don't give me these. Either way. To change that, you don't go to this, you go up here because that's on the table of contents, right? So this one, and when you edit this, you can change more settings. Right now we don't see them because for whatever reason, I guess they don't want to scare people that there's more options, but there's just a jumbo button over here that says more options, and when you click that you get more stuff you can change. So we said on chapter titles we don't want to see the page number. So if you look, the next thing is, the first one is entry style, which is the only one you see here. But if you add more options, the next one is page number. Do you want it to display after, before, so that it shows 3 and then project 2, or do you just want none? So for this one, let's just say none and then hit OK. Now we just click this, layout, update, and see, it just got rid of it. Where this gets cool is now we have these, they look pretty good. What if I didn't want to call it contents? Did you see me type the word contents at any time? No, right? It just put that up there. So I get people all the time, they're like, oh, mine's just called contents. Or they'll do this. Once they're done, they'll go in here, select this, and then write table of contents. And then every single time they update this, they have to redo that. And they get mad. And then, or they'll write contents, and then it's like spelled wrong. And then they don't realize that everything's like, it keeps doing it over and over. Rather than doing this, you should never edit directly the table of contents. It should always be done through the styles. If you are manually doing anything, every single time you update, you have to redo it. So think about it. Anytime you add a page or move something or add a chapter or change the name of one of the chapters, you'll have to redo that change. So it's the more you can automate, the less work you're actually doing. And it's not that it's like hard to do it, but it's not going to be fun to go through all these page numbers and change a 3 to a 4 and a 4 to a 5 every single time. And that kind of work is really boring, so you tend to make mistakes all the time. And it takes 2 seconds to know if someone actually made their paragraph style, their table of contents using the style, or if they just manually typed it. And that's usually one of the ways you can tell, is it'll look super basic and then it's like there's all these errors, or what they type here is not exactly what it says in the chapter. So that's another red flag. Plus it just takes a long time. Yep.
Are you able to do the same ideas with imagery or objects?
Yeah.
So like instead of having project 2, it could be an image that was used in that same spot?
I don't know if you can put an image into the table of contents. I'd have to look into that. Yeah, I know what you're trying to do. Like you put little icons or something for each one.
A buddy of mine did his entire portfolio, and there was only 3 projects, and one was a square, one was a circle, one was a triangle. So he like repeated that as a signifier where we were in the book with a dot or a triangle.
Yeah,
I think he utilized it in his table of contents as well.
So in that case, you could do it either. You could have that as part of. I mean, you could do it as the master if you do a different master per chapter. But you would probably be better off either adding that to the pages individually, or there's probably ways you can get it to reference an image depending which one you tell it per page. Or if it's just on table of contents, you could just draw that in here. But I would do that after this is settled. Yep. Because the more you would do it too early on that kind of stuff, the more it'll change. So if I want to change the name of this, let's say I'm like millennial and I don't have time to write table of contents, I need to say TOC with periods after it so you know what it is. We can go to layout, style, and then edit. And then this took me a while when I was first learning. I was like, why is it always called contents? And then if you look here, title is right there. So the default one is contents. So if you wanted to be like hip and write TOC and say okay, then we just update this. And then that's your title. Or we can make it something different. If you go edit, you can put table of contents. And notice it's displaying gigantic. If you wanted to change this, you could create a new style for that, or if you had another style that was the right one, you apply it right here. There. So this is the style of the title. So just like you were doing before, we can make them to do something like that. If you want the page number to look different, this is why, remember we were asking at the beginning of the semester, why would you use paragraph and not character styles? And we talked about how the character style, imagine that's like a level 1. The paragraph style would be like the level 2. So whenever you have a paragraph style applied to a text block, you can override segments of it using a character style. You can't do it the other way. If you had everything set to a character style, it's going to be whatever that character style is. You can't override it. So here we can actually override it. So see, it says page number after entry and then style. But watch, once we click this, it won't look for a paragraph style. It's looking for a character style. So we can make one. We don't have anything to base it on, but we can go basic character. We could make it, let's make it something different like this. I'm not sure how big the other one was. And then we can say okay. Then once you've updated this, it's gone through and added that other font to it. So then here, if we go to character styles, I did it to the whole thing. So click out. So here's my character style. It's my page number. So I could call this one page numbers, or table of contents page number. And then if I don't want this regular, I can go bold. And you can see it changing here. You can do jumbo. And so it's applying that paragraph style, but then this gets overridden. And you can also apply like different sort of things to it, like if you want to shift it, we could color this a different color. Do like a dark blue or something. Maybe put a strike through on it. I don't know why you would, but so you have all sorts of options that you can use to do that. Now it looks weird, so I'm going to go back, shrink that back down, get rid of that strike through. Does this make sense? So where this gets really powerful now is, let's say I decide I want to add subcategories to all my chapters, or let's say you show this to someone and they go, oh, this looks great, what if you move these around? We already set up the table of contents. If you hadn't done this, we would have a bunch of stuff. So here's an easy one we could do. Let's say you want to move your table of contents to be right here. So we need to add 2 pages in between these and shift it down. All of your page numbers would change, right? Because now you've added 2 pages at the very front of your document, which would be a big deal if you're doing it manually. But since we did it this way, we can just do this. So we can go pages, insert, let's put 2 pages before page 2, which is that one, and we can apply a master to it and say okay. And then now we go to this one, we can just cut that out, paste it in place. Notice that these haven't changed yet, but if you pick this and you go layout, did they change? No, it still thinks that's on 3. I think really all you need to do is like scroll away and come back, or maybe we just update it. Oh, maybe because I cut it out, it doesn't recognize it anymore. So we have table content style 1. There you go.
I was going to say that's it.
Because once I cut it, I deleted it. the
You
logic.
can't just move that.
You can move it, you just can't delete it. So like if you move it over here, it's no problem. But I did a Control X, which is probably what it was. And now let's say I want to go in and add subcategories to this chapter. So we have here Frank's Vacation Home. So let's say we wanted, let's say on this chapter we have the resource images. So let's actually move this to the top of this chapter. Alright, something's going on. My mouse is going slow now. So we can move that up. And then we have here, we have that guy. So let's copy this. And here, let's paste. We can put this here. Just call this resource images. And it's this easy. So I'm just going to grab that, maybe drop it there. We can grab these guys, move them down. Maybe all these need to align. That, put it on this line. And then here we copy this. Let's move this guy onto this page and these guys on that one. And here we can say paste in place. Move it up a little. We can say process work or a composition because it says foreground movement. I don't know. I'm just making up titles for now, but the important thing is that these always have the right paragraph style that you're referencing in the table of contents. This one, you have to label your drawings anyway. If you've set this up correctly, it's doing all the work for you, and you'll see. And this one we can put final rendering. And this can be like way bigger. Something like that. Now we can go to this one. This one is SketchUp and Podium, which has a Rhino diagram for some reason, so let's change that. Let's say this isn't SketchUp and Podium, so let's say diagramming with Rhino and Illustrator. So I've changed that title. Here I can paste and say solar diagram. Let's say that was on this page. And over here we had, let's just say we had Rhino model or something like that. So here we could paste in place. Hey, this was radiation analysis. So there we go. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. We just added some stuff. And notice it's not in here. So if we select this, go to layout, it notices something's changed. So it gives you the option to update table of contents. And this is where all the time gets saved. We've added pages, we moved stuff around, and we added more labels. So it has more stuff to reference. So once you click that, you hit OK, and see it just goes in there and adds them all in there. You don't have to do anything extra. If you notice, they all are aligned to the left, but it does kind of look like they don't align because the T is over there. So if I wanted to shift that over, how could I do that? Let's say I wanted to shift project to leave it where it is, but move these to align there. Back to where?
Isn't it just chapter subheading and then like paragraph style?
Yeah, it's this one. It's the subheading here because we want to edit how this is being displayed. So we can click into this guy and then let's move him over. Well, let me try canceling out of that. I'm going to move that way to the left so you can see it better. If we go here and now you go to Indents and Spacing, we can indent on the left side and we can start bumping those guys in. See, now it looks pretty close. So you can just slowly add little tweaks and it will just carry through all the stuff that you're doing. Sometimes like you end up with like these weird numbers like that. See how they're kind of scattered? An easy way to clean that up, you just bring the number to the front. So all you would do here is go layout, table content style, edit. Instead of saying display number after entry, we can say before. And now see how these guys are kind of floating in weirdness. It's just kind of hard to follow because the text is different sizes. We can now update it. Oh, that's what I wasn't doing. You just have to select it and then it lets you update. And so see, that looks a little bit cleaner. But that's always like a personal thing, personal preference, what you like. And then let's say you don't want just like a random space, you want to add like that little line that we put down here. We can go to here. I'm just showing there's tons of ways you can customize this. Before entry, style like that. Between entry and number, we can put, right now it has this, or we can just put like space, this, space. Let's see if that works. Sometimes you gotta like redo it. There you go. So that looks pretty good. Or you just leave it as a space, or you can put a dash, or you can put like the marching ants going across. There's all sorts of stuff you can start tweaking. So I kind of like the way this is looking now. Maybe it looks a little small. You also have the ability to, if we go, is there anything there? Okay. Layout, table content styles, edit. So down here, this is super cool. When you have this one, create PDF bookmarks. So if you have that checked and it's in your table of contents, when you make a PDF, like a multi-page PDF, like let's say like at the end you want to like just print this and save it on your computer somewhere as a PDF. If you've created the bookmarks, you can click the little tab on the left on your like Adobe PDF like Acrobat viewer, and it will take all of the basically what it says in the table of contents, and it will generate all of the different little tabs for you, and then you can just click and warp to like chapter 3 or warp to page 25 and just do that way, and you can actually read what it says. Okay, so what else could we look at? So I think for this is pretty good. If you want to go in now, oh, let's do this. Let's say you realize you don't have project 1, you forgot to put project 1 in there. So let's just go, so this starts 5 to 9. So let's look at this and say, dang it, where's my project 1? So we're going to go pages. Let's add or insert. Let's do 8 pages before page 5, which is that one. So let's say before page 4. And then we can put a master. So now it's bumped all those guys down. I'm going to go to this. I'm just going to say copy, Control C, and then here I'm going to paste in place. I'm going to grab my B master, just drop it on here. You can also do this. You can right click and say apply master, and you can say B. It's the same thing. And then here we can call this project 1, and we can say setting up a portfolio. And then you would obviously go in and fix that later. And then this is the one that's being referenced in all those subcategories. So let's say that here it has, we put that there. Let's say here it says research images, maybe, or let's say research, yeah, whatever. Copy that guy. Maybe this page is layout sketches. How many pages? Okay, that's the last one. And then we paste in place, and let's say, then these ones are final layouts. So all I did is just copy that same thing. So this would be no different than if you were actually laying this out and you had to write a title on there. But now when we go back, we just did actually a lot. We're going to end up changing every single thing that's here because we added it to the front end. So let's just get rid of this so we can see a little bit more. And then let's go ahead and update this. So you select it, layout, update table of contents, and that's all you had to do. And notice it's giving me an error, and I have one error. And if you click it, it'll say text, overset text, like where is it? Text frame on page 3. If you click that, it takes you to it, and it's telling us we have an error here. A super easy way to fix this is, see, they used to show it up here. Is this, what is this, more? Customize. Oh, see, it is checked. Is there a way to like scroll down this thing somehow? Anyway, window, paragraph. So here, all you have to do is tell it, this guy, you want to use, where are my columns? Oh, is this it? No. Well, typically you can do this, but for some reason, oh, maybe it's just, we can grab it from here. Text frame options. You used to get most of these when you're adjusting it, but columns, right now it's in 1. If we tell it 2, so you get that. So whether that's really what you want or not, that's like up to you. You can also keep dragging this up. You can adjust the spacing so that the top one is so you can make it 3 if you wanted to, or less. We can center it like that. There is a way to make this carry all the way across and then have these guys tile underneath it. There's multiple ways you could do that. Another thing you could do is, it's kind of cheating it a little bit, but we can make another text box here, or you basically crop this one down so that it only shows you this, and then we make a bigger text box below it. And then whenever you have overset text, you can do two things. You can resize this. You could use up here the auto fit one to adjust the size of the frame, or if you actually click that little guy, the red plus, it will bring the text onto your mouse and ask you where do you want to flow the extra text that's coming into it. You can click into another text box, which for some reason I know I did. I dragged. I didn't just click. So now it's in this one, and then this one we can tell it, you know what, this one should be 2. Oops, I changed something weird. What did I do? Oh, there we go. It didn't need it because it never got to the other one. But if this was shorter, it would do it like that.
So is that always going to be 1 now?
What? This? Yeah. If I go here.
Boxes now become your table of contents?
Yeah, it's the table of contents is the text. These you could flow it through like 20 if you wanted. It's gonna look at, because then we could cut it up too. Let's say like you had like an image. Have you ever seen like when I do an image and like the text flows around the image all weird? That's the same exact thing where you're just flowing through different text boxes. Or if you look at a magazine where they can have like the same story flowing across different pages. And sometimes it's 3 columns, sometimes it's just 1, sometimes it's really short at the bottom, sometimes it's really tall and skinny. You're basically taking the text and dropping it into the first one, and now I'm allowing it to flow through into other ones. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility. And then if, let's say I decide I don't want to call them all, maybe here where it says diagram with Rhino and Illustrator, Rhino modeling solar diagram. Let's say I want to go back to that, so let's go to page 21. I can say solar path diagram and then go back to my table of contents. So here we said just solar diagram. This guy now is, I need to tell it not to show me that every time. Solar path diagram. So it's not going to change on you, and then you can always do this if we wanted to. We can add pages in between. We can move these chapters around. Once you've established the logic for that table of contents style, it's just always going to do it. So if today you made it along with me, then you're done. You're just tweaking it from now on, and you just keep telling it update, update, update. So that is super helpful. And then being able to remember that is going to help you work a lot faster. Save.